Did you really? So he played for you.
Yes.
Coach Jones was the first one to, give me the little, like, hey, buddy, like, we ain't doing it this way. I walked into gym class and I just got a hit, whack, right from the behind the door. Like, you better straighten up, bro. And I'm like, oh, okay. Got it. No problem, coach. I mean,
vastly over, I know I was in those clinics at Butler. So, I mean, before Drew changed from being an I formation guy and going to the whole end zone system, which isn't really end zone system, became like Drew's system.
Right.
He put a touch on it. And everybody will tell you that. Bob was an I formation guy at Butler.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll throw stuff at Derek. I mean, I was good friends with Chuck Tepper.
Chuck's my guy, man. He's my neighbor.
And he was the center, and they went undefeated 2 years in a row.
Yep, 82, 83.
Something like that. And then what he did was, Bob just said, you know what? I guess it was Manny Matsakis came through, and he ran these clinics on the run and shoot, and Bob invited me in.
He was at Hofstra.
Yeah, and who wasn't?
Exactly.
What came out of that Hofstra staff we talk about.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, what a staff! It's Kyle, obviously Flood, and Dave Cohen, and we keep going down the list. Jeff Berman is head coach out at John Carroll. I mean, so many of those guys, and there's so many more. But I just think that Bob's willingness to to change and to really go with it, and then have the perfect storm of Mike Van Zyl's son and Medine and Conklin. They were a ridiculous 4x1 team too.
They were phenomenal. The starting 4 receivers were the 4x1 team.
Yeah, they were. And, and again, obviously we saw, Mike Campanile doing some of that stuff. And then, when Al became the head coach at Glen Rock, Al was just like, we're going to spread them out and play.
Yep. So and that was always the thing, because Glen Rock was in the different section, right? And you guys would win that group one. We would win the other group one. And we never got to
correct
battle it out until I was a senior. And by that time, it was kind of just like, we definitely weren't those teams. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So that's the evolution. Of it. So it all started with those kind of clinics, and that's how you got to talk about how you really got to run, which was originally that run and shoot system, which evolved obviously tremendously. But and you and Derek can talk about this. Obviously, there's Derek as a player, obviously growing up around it in Butler, and his friends being the Matsakises, and obviously you coaching it right from the early stages. Talk about how you got to that point when you're like, this is what we need to do.
I be honest, I can go further back than that. I mean, I know of the 3 guys in this conversation right now, I'm certainly the worst player, and I was sophomore in college. I was at Moravian College out in Bethlehem, and we were just finishing camp. We were early in camp, and I think we just did all our testing. And my position coach, Gary Martell, sat me down and said, we're putting in this new offense. This is 1980. And I was like, okay, whatever that means, He says, we'd like you to play in this position. So we'll come out to practice. We line up with 4 wide guys in 1980.
Wow.
They said they got it from Baldwin and Wallace in Ohio, which makes sense because Mouse Davis was an Ohio guy. Not Ohio, excuse me. Tiger Ellison was an Ohio guy.
Tiger Ellis, yeah.
And Tiger Ellison took that to run a shoot book. And next thing you know, Mouse Davis is reading this thing out in Oregon, and he's putting it out in Oregon with Portland State with Neil Lomax. And so we ran it. We were very fundamental in it. I remember running nothing but curl. All I did was run
best
curl.
Play ever.
I was running curl, and it was just, really slide route curl. And I got killed. I mean, I got killed. It was like no secret. Guys were dialing down safeties. And we had one guy catch like 40-something passes in 9 games. I think I caught almost 60. All right. And I got knocked around. Well, I was 155 pounds, but, all I was catching was curl. I averaged about 9 yards a catch.
Yep, that's exactly what it was, because it was like, hey, you're running this at 12 to 10, usually come back to the ball with 9 yards, good, done.
And if you catch the ball and you can have some courage, you could do it. So my dad saw us playing. He was a high school coach on Long Island. He really didn't see. He only saw me play 1 game in high school, but he didn't want to miss me playing in college. So he would come out. He was an assistant, but he says, look, I'm going to go see him play. And first of all, I think he was in shock. I was even on the field. All right, only to be surpassed by me being shocked that I was on the field. Talk about the dearth of talent, right? So he started watching. He started seeing his spread out stuff. My dad was an off-published author about offensive line play, and he started writing articles about line splits, being off the ball, a lot of geometry type stuff. And he dove into all this stuff. New Haven was running it at the time. The old New Jersey General. You probably played against it, David, right?
So New Haven. This is my experience when I came to college. So I signed with UConn. I come into camp, and you're kind of like buried on the depth chart, but like you're working your way up as a true freshman. This is the old days. Now they just throw you in the mix, and you're whether you sink or swim. But
swim.
Yeah, back then, So I come in there, and our first game is against New Haven. Okay, first game of the year. And they had a guy, I think his name was Graham, was the running back, his last name. He won the Harlan Hill. I think he won the Harlan Hill. Anyway, so we go in, and we're in this like battle. And I'm like, isn't this a Division II school? Like, didn't I sign with a FCS? Do these guys have scholarships? I'm asking these questions on the sideline. They're like, they only have like 10. I'm like, wait a minute, we have 65. We're in a battle with a team that's 10. How many good guys could they possibly have? Next thing you know, it like gets into like the third quarter, and this running back takes one to the house, like stocky guy, but had good speed. He's probably like a 4.7, but like was hard to bring down, and we could not handle the run and shoot. They couldn't handle what the only way I could relate it was I remember Paramus Catholic was running it with Mike Campanelli with Vito at quarterback. And so that's the only thing I could relate it to is like because I remember the running back slipping out and catching a bunch of passes. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm like, this is exactly what they were running. So anyway, they beat us. And from that point forward, I knew that Tom Jackson's job was in jeopardy. He lasted another year because our line was 6'5", averaged about 290, 280. New Haven was probably about 5'11", about 250, and they kicked our butt, right? But that was the first time I actually saw it, and then I played against it again.
Boston University.
Well, Boston University was the first time I redshirt freshman. I was on the offensive side, but I saw it. They beat us in a close game. And then we finally figured it out. We started to beat them. But the team we couldn't figure out was Hofstra. Right. So Hofstra came out, and we played them my senior year. And they had this he was like 5'10", 5'11" quarterback. And we got to worry about this guy. And so we used to do like one of our solutions was the A-gap blitz, the mic.
That's usually how it works.
And try to get after him. And we knocked the quarterback out literally the first series of the game. So we're like, all right, we're winning this game. In comes Gino Carmazzi, who is 6'3", 220 pounds, and starts slinging the ball all over the field. It beats us in this like battle. But I mean, I can't tell you how many times I drop back and a receiver comes around, crosses in behind me, in front of me. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Guys are sitting everywhere. They're just finding open space.
I'm jumping in my zone. They're like, stop covering grass, cover people. I'm like, the guy doesn't stop running. Where am I supposed to run to?
Yep, that's how it works. Find space, get open, throw the ball, and let's go next play.
Yeah, and it was so much where the quarterback was underneath.
Yeah.
But
that was also part of the whole thing was that got his steps right. And obviously, look, Butler, we never had anybody. Medine might have been the only ever quarterback that was over 6 foot that we ever had. So everything we did was a half roll from under center. And it was, set up on the inside leg of the tackle. And that's your aiming point. The curl comes right open. There's your window. Bam, go.
Yeah. And you're playing a lot of cover 3 and.
Right. And those guys didn't know what to do to that. No, you know what I mean? And now we start motioning guys across. Defense is like, what are we doing? You know, they're putting linebackers out here on guys that are running by them. Like they really cornered. Like once that all kind of got rolling and guys started to see that we can now, hey, we can spread it out, and then take in the offensive line and now widening your splits. And now like you got guys that were